Hi, my name is Laura Birdall.
And I'm Catherine Schmidt, and we're the co-coordinators of the Greenville Park Community School.
You're now watching Volunteer Training Video 2. In this video, we are going to outline some key aspects of volunteering. In this particular video, we are going to cover what exactly your role is as a volunteer.
We'll touch on the Northfield dress code policy, as well as go over some behavior standards with students. What is appropriate behavior and what is inappropriate?
When dressing for any volunteering opportunity, you want to make sure that you are dressing according to the organization standards.
Northfield outlines many of their dress code procedures in their dress guidelines form. You can find a copy of this in the Module 2 folder on Schoology, but some of the main ideas can be summarized here.
Torn, dirty, or frayed clothing is unacceptable. Any clothing that has words, terms, or pictures that may be offensive to other employees, students, parents, or community members is unacceptable. Clothing that reveals cleavage, your back, your chest, your stomach, or your underwear is not appropriate.
Jewelry and piercings should be in good taste and in moderation. Piercings should be covered to the best of your ability, and tattoos should be of appropriate content and, if possible, of limited visibility.
There are some hygiene basics that should always be followed for any volunteer event.
Being clean and presentable is the goal you want to have in mind when attending any volunteer event. Some basic tips include, but are not limited to,
showering regularly, brushing your teeth and hair, washing your hands after using the restroom, being sure to wear clean, ironed clothes that are not ripped, wet, torn, or stained.
Now it's important we go over what is your basic role as a volunteer. As a volunteer, it's important to remember that you are a guest at their organization. Failing to abide by the organization's guidelines could remove you permanently from volunteering with them. Volunteering is an opportunity, not a right.
To be sure you are following an organization's standards, make sure you respect the authority of the site supervisor. The site supervisor knows best. It is your duty to respect their directions and decisions. You are to help as the site supervisor sees fit. You may see a better or easier way of doing something, but that is not for you to decide. Make sure to adhere to their practices and teachings. If you feel an employee or site supervisor is doing something wrong, make sure to let your volunteer coordinator know.
Now we will discuss some key aspects that define appropriate and inappropriate behavior with students. When working alongside students, we like to mention what it means to always be working in the line of sight. This means that you are always within the line of sight of a site supervisor or coordinator. As a general rule of thumb, try to avoid being isolated with the student. There may be cases where you have to be alone with the student, such as in tutoring or mentoring, and in this case, you will want to make sure you are in an unlocked room with some sort of window in the door.
On top of avoiding being alone with students, it is important to mention that contact with the student outside of the school environment is also strictly prohibited. Contact with a student outside the school environment includes things like calling, texting, or emailing students outside of your volunteership. This means you should never give out your phone number, address, email, or social networking contacts. This also means that you should never give a student a ride home.
Physical contact between volunteers and students is also an issue that needs to be addressed. In order to guarantee the safety of our students, we ask that the volunteer refrains from touching students. This is often the most difficult and confusing question to address, as touching occurs in many forms of greetings, games, and just generally plays a large role in human interaction. Because of this, we encourage volunteers to limit touching to the most common and harmless of interactions. Things like a simple handshake or high five are completely acceptable interactions between volunteers and students. We discourage volunteers from common forms of affection like hugging, which require a bit more physical contact than other basic greetings. If hugging does happen, we like to limit it to something called side hugging. The side hug works by putting one arm around their shoulders rather than both arms around them.
One quick thing to mention is that depending on the volunteer's site, clothing requirements and training requirements may vary. For example, if you are volunteering in an area where there is heavy machinery, closed-toed shoes are a must. Other sites may require you to finish other training modules beyond the 3 in basic training. This concludes our Module 2 video. You are now ready to take the Module 2 quiz. In the materials section of the volunteer training class, you will find a quiz called Module 2 Quiz. Complete this and be sure to continue on to Module 3.
Thank you.